So you want to be a truck driver, huh? Okay, so I get a lot of messages on Instagram and YouTube about from people. Oh, look at, we're already having camera problems. Look at this thing's already moving. I get a lot of messages from people telling me that they watch the videos because they want to drive trucks, or they're gonna become a truck driver soon, or when they get old enough. And I wanted to put together something kind of simple to give you guys the truth about truck driving, the good and the bad. Because I guess there's really no sense in telling everybody how great truck driving is if you don't also tell them some of the bad stuff that happens. So with that said, I want to start with some of the stuff that isn't so pleasant. And some of this stuff people might like. Like, for instance, I'm not a fan of over-the-road driving. You're gone too long. You're gone for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month, depending on the company, or depending on whether you want to stay out. Some people love that, and that's for them. But I can't stand being gone for so long. Something else to think about before you get into it is the hours that you're going to have to work. There's a lot of hours in trucking, regardless of whether you're over the road or local. In fact, sometimes I think local there's more hours, because over the road you drive your hours, you park, and you sleep, or do whatever you're doing, you know, eat dinner or whatever. And local, we have to abide by those same hours, but you still have to drive home. You still have to wash the truck, or if you work around the shop or whatever, you have to do that. So something to think about and decide what you want to do before you get into it is over the road. And I say that, but I guess you don't really have to decide, you know, until you know until you've been in it for a little while and decided what you like better. But the conditions in trucking aren't great, although they're a lot better than they were in the past. Trucks have AC now, electric windows, Bluetooth, and the radio. I mean, there's a lot more comforts on the road. But there's still traffic you got to deal with. There's still people that don't like you on the road. Cars that go by you, they can't stand you. A lot of them. Tight places, tight corners. There's stress. There's a lot of stress involved in driving, especially if you're not comfortable with it. So I like to tell newer people that it's important to stick with it for a little while. Don't work for a company for a month or two and then get stressed out and leave. In the beginning, for me, there was a lot more stress than there is now. The stress goes away as you get used to how things work and what you're doing and the paperwork and how to run the truck. So in the beginning, it can be rough. You're moving. There, that better? Let's see if it stays. In the beginning, it can be rough for people and stressful because they don't know exactly what they're doing yet, and they're trying to figure all that out and deal with finding places and dealing with the hours. And depending on what kind of trucking you get into, some people are going to have to do tarps, some people are going to have to strap loads down. Some companies won't pay for a lumper service. A lumper service basically unloads a van trailer for you. Some companies won't pay for that, so you have to learn high and tie, which is how high and tie is how a pallet is formed. In other words, if you have a bunch of little boxes, the high and tie is how the company that you're delivering to wants the pallets stacked, the boxes stacked on the pallets. You got to learn all that stuff, and there's a lot more to trucking than just the road trip. You know, a lot of people, I think, get into it thinking that it's a road trip with your buddies when you went on spring break or something, and there's a lot more to it than that. This isn't a 9-to-5 job, so you're not going to be around your friends, your family, if you get, like, I'm lucky enough, for the most part, we just work Monday through Friday. You can work Saturdays. The boss doesn't mind if you come in and work on Saturdays if you want. But typically I try to just work Monday through Friday because you put in a lot of hours Monday through Friday. You work, you know, you're working from early morning to afternoon. I cannot figure this camera out to save my life, to get it to stay put. You know, you work a lot of hours on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, so typically I try not to work Saturdays and Sundays. Plus, this brings up another point. I see my kids every other weekend. If I was over the road and gone, I would miss out on that. You miss out on friends, family, a lot of stuff that's going on, especially over the road. Not so much local. I'm usually home every night, so I can go do that. But a lot of times you're not home. You don't get home until, you know, 6, 7 o'clock, depending on how close to your work you live. And then you got to be up again at 2 or 3. So, you know, and somehow you got to fit dinner and a shower and projects if you own your own home. Or even if you don't, you still got to clean your house, you got to do dishes, you got to do laundry, do all that stuff. You got to fit all that in. So, I don't mean to scare you guys away, but it's a, like I've said it in my Q&A video, and a lot of people, you hear a lot of people talking about it, truck driving is a lifestyle. So I consider myself, Monday through Friday, this is my life. This is what I concentrate on Monday through Friday. I can't believe I can't figure this camera out to get it to stay. I never have this problem. So it's Monday through Friday, I consider this my life. And then I have Saturdays and Sundays I can do what I gotta do, mainly. So that's something you gotta remember before you get into this career. Are you gonna be able to handle that? Are you gonna be able to handle not seeing your friends typically during the week? Your family, you have kids, do you have a wife? There's a lot more to think about in trucking when you're excited to do it than that you're just going to jump in the truck and go. And not only that, but if you have, so say you're supposed to get home, you're figuring your times out and you're going to get home about 5. So you make plans with your wife or your kids to do what you're going to do, or your husband. And now it's 4 o'clock, you're almost home, and you run into, there's an accident ahead of you. You're running into traffic. Traffic's backed up for an hour. Well, now you missed that dinner arrangement, or that birthday party, or that baseball game. There's so much behind the scenes to trucking that people don't understand, and they see the novelty of it. And you're in a big truck, you're like a cowboy out traveling the roads, you know, and it is a blast. It is a lot of fun. I don't want this to scare you away. I just want you to know the truth about what goes on. And a lot of my opinions come from local driving, because that's what I do. I'm not over the road anymore. So a lot of what I have to tell you comes from just what I do now. So are you going to be able to handle that? Also, if you don't have your license already, there's a lot of money involved to get your license if you pay a school to get it for you. Or you have to find somebody that has a truck. You have to learn all the stuff. There's a bunch. There's a lot. And over the years, you know, all that stuff accumulates. You sit a lot, your health, truck drivers' health isn't great because we do a lot of sitting. Regardless, even if you're doing straps, I mean, that helps if you're strapping loads, flatbed work, or tarps. That certainly helps. But still, for the most part, you're sitting all day. Not to take away from the stress factor. So now I say that, you're sitting a lot, and you don't do much, but you do. Your brain is always going. You're finding places, you're watching what's going on around you. There's a lot to trucking. And I wanted to get that out there because I don't think a lot of people, a lot of younger people especially, realize when they say that they want to be a trucker, how much more is involved in some of the bad stuff that's involved in trucking. I say bad, it's not really bad, but it's just like the downside of trucking, the truth of it. My videos don't show how late I get home. Sometimes I mention it, but a lot of my videos don't show how early I started. You know, the camera doesn't do a great job with low light, so a lot of times I'll wait until like now to start recording because you can see me. My alarm went off at 2 o'clock this morning. Some nights, now last night I got home a little earlier, but some nights you don't get home till 6, 7 o'clock, and it's not always about work. You know, you work all day, and say you get done at 4 or 5. Well, now those nights you got done a little earlier, so I'll stop and grab groceries, or I'll swing by and see a family member or something for a little while. So now you're getting home at 7, 8, and you still got to do all that stuff. That's local driving. It's different for over the road. But I just want to make sure that everybody that watches these videos knows that there's more to it than just fun out on the road and joking around and putting the axles down and opening the tarp in Granville. There's a lot more to trucking. Paperwork, you got to know all the paperwork, you got to follow all the regulations that are set by DOT. So there's times, I mean, it doesn't happen. Our dispatch is really good at this. They always seem to get us home early enough. But there's some companies that aren't as good, and you get out doing a load somewhere and you run out of time to get back. Now you're stuck for 10 hours in that truck. According to the law, you're stuck and have to wait there for your 10-hour, for your reset, or for your 10-hour off. That's the not so glamorous side of trucking that my videos don't usually show. And I want to get better at showing that stuff because I think it's very important so you guys can make an educated decision on what you want to do in this career, whether it be over the road or local or regional. There's dedicated stuff. So I don't know. That's that. I just wanted to get some of the not so glamorous side of trucking out there for you guys, especially you younger people. Like I said, I would never steer you against it. You know, these messages I get saying how I can't wait to drive, I can't wait to be on the road, and do you have any tips for me? And I'll give you tips, and I wish you luck, and I hope you do become a driver if that's what's in your heart to do, because it's something that your heart needs your heart has to be in this, or it's never going to work. You're never going to make it, because it's a lot to it. And to be honest, I don't think the majority of people that get their CDL and start driving truck, I don't think make it. I think they find out that there's a lot more to it than they thought, and then they end up back where whatever they were doing. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. As great of a career as I think this is, it's not for everybody. Some people don't think the way I do, and it won't work for them. So that's that. I wanted to get some of the bad stuff out of the way. It's not bad. I say bad. It's not bad. I wanted to get some of the stuff that's not so pretty, and some of the stuff that the movies don't show you, and some of these videos on YouTube don't show you. So that's that, just so you know. So there's safety concerns also for your own benefit. There's road conditions you have to worry about, traffic around you. People could care less how much these trucks weigh, or what kind of, like if we're on snow or not. They'll cut you off just as quick in a snowstorm as they will on dry pavement. There's sleep issues. If you don't get good sleep, you can fall asleep at the wheel. I mean, this is all stuff you try to avoid, but it can happen. This stuff can happen, and you have to think about that before you get into this. Can you handle that? What else? Oh, you could get, I mean, truck stops are notorious for like thieves, prostitution. There's people will steal right out of your truck. They'll hold you up at gunpoint. I mean, I haven't seen that, and I'm not saying that you know, you might get into the business and never see it ever. So take all that with a grain of salt. But that stuff can happen, and it's not unheard of. So that's stuff you got to think about. That's important. You know, all this stuff is stuff you got to think about. I guess that's why I keep saying that, because it's like you have to put all this stuff together and decide if this is for you or not. So we're on our way to Malone with some salt. I wanted to give you a little update before I started on the good stuff about trucking. It's not all bad. In fact, personally, I think there's more better than there is not. So I wanted to give you a little update on what we were doing here, so you knew why we were traveling where we are. We're on 190 now, probably 15-20 minutes from the drop. We're gonna drop this, and then I think that's about it. It's wicked cold up here. It's like -8, and then with like the wind chill, it's crazy. I don't even know, probably -15 or 10 or something like that. Well, at least 10. It's got to be 15-20 degrees below zero with the wind chill. So a little update on what we're doing, but I'll do something different today. I've already brought you guys to Malone in one of my other videos, and you know, so that's that, just so you know. But some of the good things about driving a career in trucking, the things you get to see, and just giant windmills out in the middle of a field, or something as simple as huge cornfields that go on for 2 miles, mountains going through the Adirondacks. That's amazing scenery that you would never see in an office job. The people that I've met, I mean, Instagram and YouTube help with that, but some of the people that I've met over the years of doing this are like lifelong friends now, and it's amazing the different personalities, whether they're good or bad. You take them all, you know, and it's cool to meet them people and get to know people's hobbies and learn about their trucking career and what they like and what they dislike. And some of the stories from the road, there's a lot of great in trucking. There's a lot to be proud of in trucking. With pride, with that word pride, I want to mention that all the stuff that I considered the bad in the beginning of the video, that dealing with that every day, day in and day out, gives me pride. That I deal with all that on a regular basis. The early hours, the safety, the long days, the boredom. I'm proud of what I do. Not only for the scenery and not only for the truck, what you know, what the truck looks like and stuff. I'm proud of what I do because I muscle through all that stuff. And that's what I say earlier. This has to be in your heart to do this. And it's in my heart to get through all that crud and the down stuff and muscle through and do it anyway. That's how much I love this career. And that's how much you could love this career too. I don't want to scare you away with the bad stuff in the beginning, because my love for doing this overrules all of that. And it doesn't bother me a bit to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, yeah, there's mornings you're tired and all, but it doesn't bother me a bit, any of that stuff that I said, because my love for this overrules all of that. So again, it can for you too. So don't not do this career based on what I just told you. I just wanted you to know that it's not all sparkles and roses out. You know what I mean? There's stuff that isn't great. And it's important for me to tell you that in a position now on Instagram and YouTube, and I find that people are messaging me, asking me questions about the industry and about the trucks and how to do this and how to do that, and I'm perfectly fine with that. However, I'm going to tell you the truth, whether it's what you want to hear or not. And there's some truth in the positive stuff. Like I said, the scenery, the freedom out here. I basically don't have a boss. I mean, I talk about boss man and my boss and all that. And I do have a boss. He tells me what I got to get done. He's the behind the scenes. You know, he knows the paperwork. He knows what loads are coming out of where and what time they have to get there and here and all that. But basically, you don't have a boss. He tells me what I got to do. I go and do it. And that's it. Your day's done. And that's pretty standard across the board in trucking. Dispatch tells you what you got to do, and you do it. You figure out the best way, the most professional, economical way to get that done, and safe to get that done. And that's pretty much all you hear from somebody, unless you have to ask them a question or if an address is wrong or something. But otherwise, there's days that I won't even talk to my boss. And only because you're just out here doing your job. You're just doing what you got to do. So that freedom, you don't have somebody over your shoulder, like in an office job or sometimes in construction work and different fields. That's a great benefit to trucking. The money is great in trucking. Trucking pays very well. You work for it, but it pays, and that's something to be proud of too. When you get your paycheck, it isn't always about how much money you make. And there's old timers out there, oh, I won't get out of bed for less than, well, I know, because you've been doing it for 30, 40 years and you're just sick of it. And I don't blame you. I get you. I get it. You're tired after all them years of doing this. I understand. But there's more to it than just the paycheck. There's pride that comes along with it. That I just worked however many hours, or I didn't get in an accident through these snowstorms for the third or fourth or fifth straight year. Whatever you look at, whatever you're proud of in this industry, you have that to look forward to. Truck shows. There's a whole community of people involved in this career that you can talk to. And you don't necessarily have to have a show truck or drive a show truck to enjoy that. You can go to truck shows, and people are genuinely nice. They'll talk to you about their truck. They'll talk to you about stories on the road. Again, it goes back to the people you meet. There's a lot of great stuff in trucking. And I hope the beginning of this video didn't scare you from that, because there's a lot to gain from this career. So long as you mean it. You have to mean it. So with that said, with the bad out of the way and the good out of the way, and I'm sure there's others, if you guys can think of some stuff of your own that you guys deal with, whether it's good or bad, leave it in the comments so that other people can read that and see, because I'm sure I'll miss something. I'm sure, you know, tonight when I put this together, I edit this, I'll be thinking, man, why didn't you tell them about this or that? So if you guys can think of anything, leave it in the comments or get a hold of me on Instagram, shoot me a message on Instagram, and maybe we'll put them in another video. So with that said, I'll do a few tips. I'd like to give you guys a little information about how to get started. Not how so much as where to get your license, what companies to go to, but just some things that I went through that I think you guys should know getting into this. One of the tips to starting out in this career, and something I tell people that ask me about it, is to stick with it for a little while. Don't come into trucking for 2 months, 3 months and decide it's too stressful or you hate it and get out. I mean, if you absolutely do, you got to go where it makes you happy. You can't stay somewhere where you're not happy. But give it some time, like 6 months, 8 months, a year is best. But you know, I know you don't want to waste your time that long, but give it a solid effort, because that stress goes away. So as you do it for a little while, you start to get used to where you're going. You get used to different areas. You start to know roads like major highways. And then it's a matter of just taking this highway to this highway to this highway, getting off this exit, making a left, and you're there. Instead of having to find all that, you start to, so just give it some time before you decide it's not for you, because a lot of that stress goes away and you get a lot more comfortable. But that's what I wanted to tell you. Don't give up right away. Give it a few months, give it a little while, a solid effort. And I'm pretty sure you'll see that things will start to get a little easier on you as far as the stress goes. You know, another good tip too, for just starting out, don't come in like a cowboy. You know, you hear all the stories about these guys running all night, 24 hours, and making it down to Florida and back in like, 4 minutes. You can't, just don't be that, don't do that, because you're gonna get in trouble, you're gonna get hurt. I know, it's exciting, I get it. You want the engine brake on all the time, you want to go 100 miles an hour, I know, you're on the road, you're a cowboy now, but that's cool to be excited, but just take your time with it, because you listen to people, and don't be too big, too quick that you can't listen to some of the best advice in trucking I've ever gotten was from people that have driven for 6 months, 8 months. And here I am, 15 years I've been driving. I've gotten some great advice from people that have only had 6 months, because everybody thinks different. It's not always about who's been trucking longer. Sometimes it's about, well, he's been trucking for 3 months, but he's got a great idea, and I think I'll do that. You know, you can learn from everyone, so don't be too good and too like excited or like a cowboy and can't listen to anybody. Listen to people. You know, and some stuff you don't listen to. Some stuff you're gonna hear and know that just let it go in one ear and out the other. There's a lot more of that than there is good advice. Trust me. So learn how to pick. But make sure you listen to people. Alright guys, that's it. It's Friday, headed south. Just wanted to throw something together quick. Since I kind of screwed up on the videos this week for Tuesday and Thursday. So, some talking, some blabbing, but I appreciate you watching anyway. We'll get back into the swing of things here next week now that I got this audio issue figured out. We'll get back to some trucking. We'll see you on the next one.